when you are the number 5 team in the country from this state, you got to get some attention. This is worth talking about. This is huge. So they are not the number 1 team, according to AP voters. One very well-respected college football insider, though, has the Huskies as her number 1 team. Nicole Auerbach, who writes for The Athletic, says that the Huskies should be number 1. And I know that there are people that look at the top 5 rankings bump and they see Georgia at number 1. They see Michigan, Ohio State, and Florida, 1 through 4. And they go, I'm sorry, you're telling me that the Huskies, because they have a high-octane offense that almost lost to Arizona, should be better than Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State? But what do you think, in Florida State, but what do you think some people like Nicole, who, again, knows more about college football and watches infinitely more college football than do most other people, what might someone like her be seeing with this team?
I think they're looking at the Huskies and they're seeing one of the, if not the best offense in the country. You look at the numbers, Oregon is still, when it comes to yards per game, leading the country, but you just took them down. And then I think she's looking at the other guys in the, top 10 or whatever. They're saying, okay, who is Georgia really beating? UT Martin. You know where that is? I'm assuming Utah because UT.
Texas?
I don't know. University of Texas. Well, yeah,
It's
probably.
Tennessee.
Tennessee, that's what I said. We said Tennessee. We said Tennessee.
Yeah, Chattanooga or something like that. All right. And then you got Ball State. Okay. South Carolina. All right. UAB, Auburn. Kentucky's the only ranked team that they beaten, but they did beat them pretty bad, 51-13. And then Vanderbilt took you all the way to the end right there. And then I think they're looking at teams like Michigan. Who has Michigan played? No ranked teams at all. East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers, Nebraska, Minnesota, Indiana. They got Michigan State. Now, they could finish the season. They could beat number 7 Penn if they're still number 7 at the time in a couple weeks. And then you have Ohio State. I think that she's looking at their resume and she's saying, my question was, all right, who have they beaten? And then you look at them before this game, Boise State, Tulsa, Michigan State, California, Arizona. But then on prime time against the number 8 team in the country, the number 1 offense in the country, you go out there and you get her done. Now, I don't know the players of these guys in and out with these top 5 to 10 teams. No, but I'm just looking at the schedule and I go, they have a more impressive win than Michigan and Georgia. And I think that she's looking at the offensive personnel, and you see guys who will be playing in the NFL when it's all said and done. Obviously, you have your guy, Michael Penix, who will be playing in the NFL when it's all said and done. You have Rome Odunze, who will be playing in the NFL. Polk might be playing. McMillan might be playing as well. So you look at the prospects that are on the field at the time, too, and I think that sways them a little bit, and it should. But there's something called we got East Coast bias. How about Southeast bias?
Oh, I count it as East Coast bias.
All right. You look at those teams down in the SEC, and they're automatically going to get a nod and some approval. Then you look at the traditional teams, the Michigans, the Ohio States, they're automatically going to get the nod. Florida State is in front of them. Florida State is the biggest frauds at number 4 I've seen in a very long time. Biggest frauds.
I will say she has Florida State at 6.
At 6. Ohio State, who has Ohio State beaten? They beat Notre Dame 17-14, the only ranked team. Okay, so you give them that. But Indiana, Youngstown, West Kentucky, Maryland, Purdue. So I think that it's all perspective.
I could see that.
And I don't think 5 is a bad spot. You know, but I can also make an argument that they could be number 4. The thing is, you just want to make sure that when those college football playoffs rankings are released, that they are in the mix. And I think if they keep winning, they will be.
So her full ranking, I had to pull it up on my phone, sorry. So she has Washington, obviously, at number 1. And her reasoning is purely along the lines of what you're saying. You guys are see eye to eye with that one. She just says, look, they felt like a top team, but I needed to wait until they beat a real contender, or rather like another top 10 team or whatever. So finally beating Oregon, I felt comfortable putting them at number 1. She has Oklahoma at number 2, Georgia number 3. She said that they've got some injury concerns. Obviously, we talked about Bowers a little bit earlier. Michigan number 4, Oregon she has at number 5, Oregon State 6, and then Ohio State is 7. She's got Texas at 8, Penn State 9, North Carolina
who's
10.
at 6?
She has Ohio State at 6.
Oh, I thought
Or
you
excuse
said-
me, she has Ohio State at 7. At 6 is Florida State.
Oh, I thought I heard Oregon State. I go,
No.
goodness gracious.
I mean, that would be very cool, but no. It's always interesting because I think you're right. Like looking at her rankings and the arguments that she's making, I'm like, it really does feel like because some of these AP voters look at even like the rosters and just the pure like 5-star talent on the Ohio States and the Michigans and the Georgias, even if they haven't shown a ton, they're like, well, we know you can.
Right.
And so that keeps them there. But it's like, well, what have you done though? Like, what have you shown? So that's how she's ranking it.
Yeah, and I like her rankings. I think that is fair. Honestly, like if you're mentioning in the top 5, 6, or 7, you're in great shape because all you got to do is keep winning. Because eventually, some of these guys are going to lose. I'm going to go out and say Ohio State is going to have their hands full against Penn State when they eventually get there. I'm going to go out and say Georgia, when they play, they have a stretch where they play Missouri, Ole Miss, and Tennessee, number 20, 13, and 17. They're going to have their hands full. That's the thing about these rankings, too, is that eventually it's going to work itself out. The only one that concerns me, only one, is Florida State. If they get by Duke, who they play next with number 15, they got Wake Forest, Pitt, and Miami. North Alabama, throw that in there, and then Florida. Florida State is a product of why we should not do preseason rankings, why you should wait 4 or 5 weeks for teams to play, and then you start to figure it out. Because Florida State comes in hot, right? And they beat number 5 LSU, frauds. I don't even think they're ranked in the top 25 right now. Maybe
Bob's
they
just
are.
on fire for the frauds. They're frauds.
There's
Right?
nothing quite like calling another college football team fraudulent.
just feels
It's
good.
the best.
It feels so good.
It is because there are. And this is the messed up part too about this. Would we rather have computers picking the top teams or humans picking the top teams? I still lean on humans because I think they're gonna eventually get it right.
Because I don't want the robots to take over, I'm going to say humans, but I know where those flaws lie. Then they're not with the robots.
They're not with the robots. They're with the humans who put teams on a pedestal before they play any type of game. That's the thing that kills me. So Florida State, I mean, I'm hating on you, but you're a victim of your circumstance. You got put in a good position. All you got to do is keep winning, and you'll be fine. So no, this is where college football gets really fun, man, because there's going to be someone who sneaks into this playoff.